Hello and welcome back. Like, sub, do the usual, and welcome to my channel. All the links you need are down below in the description. So, a little while ago I did a episode on the Dune film, and that video, my positive review of the film, was looking at it as a film. Now, I will say, I had issues with it, and I wanted to cover those in a part 2. That's the thing that I wanted to say, because otherwise it would have been a super long video and you would have been listening to me for like 5 hours. And this is kind of an experiment, but I will talk about that more at the end. So, let's talk about what I didn't like about Dune in terms of an adaptation. Now, Dune is Frank Herbert's amazing, epic, big, massive science fiction world. It's beautiful. And I'm going to say this, don't listen to book talk or book Twitter when it comes to this book. Just don't listen. Or Goodreads, just buy it or listen to it yourself and enjoy. And we'll go there. I will say, as a film, I really enjoyed it. It was stunning. I like the acting. I like the characters they go focus to. I thought it was a visual treat for the eyes, and it felt cohesive. And unlike a lot of adaptations, Rings of Power, it's made with love, and you can tell that. But as an adaptation, it kind of annoyed me in places. And here we go. Some of the departures from the source material did change. Now, I get it. Certain changes are complete and utterly necessity for any adaptation to screen. There is no way around that. You cannot do a direct book to screen adaptation. Something that would take 5 pages in a book takes 2 seconds in a film. Some things don't necessarily work, and there's a whole thing. I feel like some of the departures undermine some of the characters' arc. I felt like it did undermine the depth and the complexity of the character arcs, and it did sometimes feel like pointless change. Some of the changes kind of rushed certain points forward, and that annoyed me. It does rob it of certain intellectual depth, and some of the philosophy that's underneath Herbert's work is missing here, and those changes were very much there. Now, I talked about the characters that I loved in that first video, but in this video I want to say some of the characters, mostly some of the more backgroundy characters, were reduced to just moving the plot. A lot of the themes, a lot of the depth of these characters and nuance was definitely missing, and some of these characters are quite critical, and they in later stories, and there's a whole thing, and we won't go into the books, but there are certain things and certain elements I feel like they should have kept, and not having those little character moments with some of them, not background characters, but some of the characters that don't serve a huge amount of purpose, but they were characters with depth, and that was missing. I felt like a lot of the other characters outside of the main cast didn't really get much character development, and that nuance was missing, I think, because you get to spend a lot of time with some of these characters, and they're fascinating, and I did miss that. It very much shifted focus. Pacing issues. It does suffer with pacing issues, and that can be a little bit distracting. The film does rush certain key plot points, sacrificing critical moments of tension, and it was actually a little bit frustrating. And it felt disjointed in places. Like, I really enjoyed it. I sat there and I watched it. I really enjoyed it, but it did feel disjointed, and it did fail to maintain its momentum throughout. Now, one of the things that I will say is no film adaptation or television adaptation of Dune so far has captured the themes ranging from politics to religion to ecology to even identity. they always seem to rob it of those themes. The politics of Dune is quite interesting, and the internal struggles between the characters is fascinating. And every adaptation tends to strip those out. It also strips a lot of the philosophy out of his work, where it really should be there. And every adaptation has done this, and I don't know why. There is such a way of doing this that could easily work on screen, and it does. It frustrates me in that element. Like, yeah, there's a lot of philosophy, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of deeper themes, and I can wax lyrical about Dune and Frank Herbert and all of these people and say how amazing they are, but these themes were fundamentally missing from that work, and why can't they just put them in there? That's that's the thing that really icks me in a lot of adaptations. They want to strip it of the philosophy, they want to strip it of its deeper layers, and you can definitely tell. I'll also say there is definitely a few missed opportunities within this film, certain key points from the books being rushed over and so on. I wish it went into the rich tapestry of Herbert's universe more. It did put style over spectacle when it comes to storytelling. And style, substance, spectacle, all of these things, and you have to balance them. It's a rich world, there's a lot going on, and sometimes it does feel like they wanted to, I don't know, rush into it a little bit. And as I said, I love the movie. I loved it. I really enjoyed part one and part two, but I think the departures from the material really annoyed me on that level, because this is my thing. As a film, great. And I don't expect much from modern mainstream cinema, let's be honest. But it did lack the depth, the complexity, and the intelligent resonance that made the novel a timeless classic. You have a book that delves deep into a beautiful narrative, beautiful world building, beautiful characters, and why elements of that were present, the stripping back of them and shifting the focus did kind of not work in the adaptation. It was kind of annoying because there were moments where I thought this would be really good to give more time to, more credence to, more, I think, and I will say this, it's, I don't expect much from modern cinema. I don't. I genuinely don't at this point in television. But I don't think Dune really should be in cinemas. I think if you're going to do Dune, it needs to be a long narrative television show. It's extremely complex and there's a lot going on, and you will never capture the essence of the book on screen, I don't think. That's what I find frustrating, and this is true of many modern adaptations. Look at Rings of Power, look at The Witcher, look at countless other things. I'm picking on some, like Wheel of Time. The depth and the layers is stripped out, and it's just, it frustrates me. As I said, I absolutely love the film on a cinematic level, but I didn't like it as an adaptation, and it's a really weird place to be. As a film, I would give it a good 8.5 out of 10. As an adaptation, I would probably give it 2. Just because it breezed over so many key points, and the shift in focus in narrative was annoying in places. And the sort of intellectual stripping of the material, the philosophy is a big thing within his work. The book asks you a lot of questions, and it asks you to think. And I think a lot of modern moviegoers and readers don't want to think. They don't want to have to think about what they're watching. It's just the nature of modern cinema, I suppose. And it was frustrating on that level. That's the thing that got me. So, as much as I loved it, what annoyed me about it was the fact that it just breezed over so many things in the book. I think when you strip the sort of substance out of the material, it can be a problem, and there is definitely elements of it, but it didn't feel connected to the books. It was an interesting and very fun film to watch. It was a great spectacle with good acting, and I really think the director and the people behind it tried their best. And that's why I rated it so highly, because I don't think any adaptation of the work, any adaptation of the book will ever come close to the book. And I think also, and this is being really honest, I did love the costume design. I thought the costume design was spectacular. But I didn't enjoy the fact that some of the colour felt stripped out of it in places. Like, there is a lot they could do with this material and create something quite amazing. But, like I said, I don't think it will ever work in a one-on-one adaptation because there is too many layers. And I think people are so used to being force-fed and spoon-fed a story that the narrative of storytelling and the art of storytelling is fading very, very, very fast. Let's be real. And it's an unfortunate thing. It is unfortunate because, you have a book that is one of the pinnacles of science fiction, but it just didn't work as an adaptation, but it worked as a film. It's a really weird place to be. And I always try and watch a film and separate myself from the source material, especially if I love the source material. But as a moviegoer, I thought it was stunning. As a lover of the book, I thought it was a poor adaptation. And being in that camp is very bizarre, because I can appreciate what they tried to do, and they clearly tried, and again, I rated it highly because I genuinely enjoyed it. But what's missing is that layer of depth and that layer of conversation and that great kind of elements of a movie. And it's so complicated to do. And that's the thing. It's so complicated to do, and I don't think it necessarily will work on screen. Not in that way. I don't think any adaptation of this book will ever truly be a thing, because it's just too many layers. It's too deep. It's too big. And I do get trimming some of the stuff out, but I think it would have been... better as maybe episodic television, sort of Game of Thrones style. Rather than a movie. I enjoyed the spectacle. I think, like I said, it did really well. I love the music. Like, oh god, that score is amazing. I thought the acting was really good. I thought the writing was very good. And I thought they did a good job of creating a film. But I wish it just... I just wish there was more of Frank Herbert in this work. I wish there was more of his voice. I wish there was more of his depth, more of his layers. And it is a very weird place to be. Like I said, a film I really loved, but as an adaptation, I think it fell very short. So tell me what you think in the comments below. I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day.